Welcome to the 80-20 Baseball Podcast. Strike! The 80-20 Coaching Masterclass. Our weekly get-together where coaches go from new to good and good to great. Mastering the fundamentals and the art of coaching.
Welcome, baseball community. Coach Bo here with you. We're coming off the heels of a fantastic interview that was spread out over the last 3 weeks. This week, we have the top 7 coaching posts of the month as seen on X, aka Twitter. But first, before we dive in, a quick thought on a recent story that I heard. I was listening to an interview with the former Dodger, former Red Sox pitcher Joe Kelly. He's coaching his 9-year-old's team, and he got punched by someone affiliated with the other team. Sounded like it was a pretty bad environment throughout. Now, I only heard one side of the story, and that was Joe Kelly's side, from his team's perspective, from his coaching staff's side of it. So I'm sure there was more to the story. But essentially, they went through the tournament. There's a lot of back and forth, specifically with this team that they were playing against. They played against this team in the championship game, and they were whooping them pretty good, according to Joe. And there was a lot of chirping from all the parents. Joe Kelly said there was a lot of bad coaching moves, what have you. But he mentioned this one, and he kind of glossed over it really quickly, which was very surprising to say the least. He said the other team, like the parents involved with the other team, are known to drink throughout the tournament, drinking beers. It sounds like they're drinking throughout the day or between games in the parking lot. He's saying the parents for this team are known to be drunk at the games. Now, if y'all remember a month ago, we broke all this down in an episode, how to handle situations that are not good situations to have our team in. This is one of them. If you know that the other team's parents, people at the game that are yelling out, if you know they're intoxicated and they're clearly showing that they're intoxicated, I think it would help if you actually saw them drinking, if you saw them in the parking lot drinking between games or before the game. This is a huge red flag, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, getting your team out of there. So now these 9-year-olds see a fight go down between adults right there on the field during their baseball game, their 9-year-old kid's baseball game. It's one thing for adults to sit back and watch some UFC or watch some boxing. It's even one thing for adults to be out and see an altercation occur. But adults can compartmentalize it. There's context for adults. They're a little more desensitized to things like that because we're older. It's not so shocking like it is to a 9-year-old. It's not going to get ingrained negatively for the long term as much as it is for a 9-year-old. If the other team's got a bunch of drunk parents at the game, that's when you get your team out of there. Or at least give a firm warning to the umpire or the person in charge of the tournament or the league president or somebody that's in charge, or even the other coach, and give them a firm warning that you're going to just take your team and go. Exposing 9-year-olds to fights at a baseball game? Ridiculous. Now you could say, Coach Bo, he didn't know he was going to get attacked and punched. Yes, but he admitted they're all drinking. So Joe Kelly knew this was some dry underbrush and there was an unattended campfire that was still lit a few feet away. Should have removed his team. Better to forfeit a tournament that the kids will probably never remember when they're 25 than to put them in situations that we should do our best to avoid. They're kids. We need to protect their youth a little bit more. 9 years old? We need to protect their youth and innocence a little bit more and drip feed the adult world to them. Fighting at a baseball game in front of these kids is terrible on many levels. I would have taken my team and just left. We would have done something else that was fun. They're 9 years old. Let's protect our kids a little bit more. You want your kids to be tougher? Sign them up for jiu-jitsu. You want your kids to be tougher? Get them out there pulling weeds for 3 hours next Saturday when it's hot. You want your kids to be tougher? Run a fast-paced, challenging practice where they got to suck it up and push through some tiredness by watching adults fight at their baseball game. Nothing good comes from that. Only negative mental health effects can come from this. Or worse, kids just don't want to play because they don't want to be around that. They're 9 years old. I agree 100%. Our kids need to be a little tougher. And I think each generation as we move forward, probably less tough. But exposing kids to these just mild traumatic events, things like that, that's not toughness. So I heard Joe Kelly, the ex-Dodger, Red Sox, talk about this experience. And these tournaments, which is where this typically happens, not so much in league format like the little leagues. Well, these tournaments need to step up and start just kicking these parents out, kicking the teams out. Maybe you start with this, hey, you're done for today. You forfeit this game, wherever that puts you with the loss, wherever that puts you in the tournament. Second time, you're gone and you're never coming back. That's it. Is it more about the money than the kids? That's sad. I'm all for business. I'm all for people making money, but not at the expense of youth, not at the expense of our kids. So if you haven't listened to that episode from a month ago, episode 291, we talk about the 3 steps that we can use to handle these situations. Sometimes you got to look like the bad guy to be the real good guy. Sometimes you got to yank your team off the field and go do something else if you want to be the coach that they need. Now, let's get into some positive coaching messages. Normally, we do our top 5 coaching posts of the month, but because of the interview with Scott over the last 3 weeks, I pushed the top 5 back a little bit. So we're going to do the top 7 coaching posts of the month.
The top 5 coaching posts of the month.
First one, posted by Baseball Dudes Inc. on X at Baseball Dudes 48. Says, a few things I learned early in my coaching career. Number 1, when talking to players, get down on their level. Take a knee. Get down to their eye level. Take off your sunglasses. This helps ensure eye contact. Make sure the sun is to their back so they're not looking into the sun. Ask them questions. Hear their thoughts before you give yours. Don't overcoach by having something to say every rep/pitch/swing. Take time to get to know them, their movements, their habits, and their peak athleticism is temporary. Make sure we always put leading the person first. What a great set of messages across the board right there. Our second top X post of the month for coaches. This one is by Ball is Psych. The real test isn't how hard the game is, but how hard you prepared for it. Make practices more challenging. It's the idea that when we endure the most challenging moments in practice or training, the real tests, i.e. the games, become easier. That's a really good one. So many of us coaches want to default to making practices easy, having a high success rate at practice, or we manufacture drills so the success rate is really high. If kids are more successful in practice than they are in the games, on average, our practices are way too easy. The next post comes from Andrew Matthias. Quote, Jim Schlossernagel has built elite offenses at every stop, from TCU to Texas A&M and now Texas. But it's not about perfect swing mechanics. His system starts with one rule: get a good pitch to hit. Swinging at bad pitches equal bad outcome. Swinging at great pitches, it's going to be a better outcome. Now, I would say this, and I think it's important that we add a little extra to always make sure that we're very clear with our point. I wouldn't just say get a good pitch to hit. I would say get a good pitch to hit with less than 2 strikes. See the difference there? With 2 strikes, if your goal is to get a good pitch to hit, you're going to strike out looking a lot, which is a really bad outcome for a hitter. Our goal for our hitters is that the only time they strike out looking is on some crazy bad call that happens once a month. Literally a pitch they couldn't reach. And when I mean reach, they couldn't even nick it or foul it off, even just get a tiny little piece of it. So I think it's important we don't just say, get a good pitch to hit. Because I'm a 10-year-old, I'm up there with 2 strikes. I'm like, hey, coach said, get a good pitch to hit. Yeah, well, when he makes that pitcher's pitch on the outside corner at the knees, that's not really a good pitch to hit, but I got to swing. So I would add that piece to it so there's clarity when we're coaching that up. Coaching post of the month, number 4, by Jim Shapiro. In the chaos, look for the calmest person in the room. That's your leader. This is really a fascinating quote. Who's the calmest person? That's the leader. So as coaches, we should be the leader. We want to be the leader. It's our job to be the leader. So we should be the calmest person. When I see sports coaches less calm than the players, that's a huge red flag. Coaches need to be the calmest person on the field. We don't need to be a dead fish, but we should be the calmest person on the field, especially when there's chaos going on or it gets hectic or stressful. Coaching post number 5, Coach the Coaches at Winning Coaches. And they shared a quote by John Gruden, the former Tampa Bay Buccaneer coach and the Raiders coach. It's not what you know. It's not what you want to run in terms of plays and strategy. It's what your players know and what they can run. This is a good one. I coached with a coach that had 6 bunt defenses. So he knew, as a coach, he knew his 6 bunt defenses inside and out. And he wanted to run 6 bunt defenses. So the first part of this quote is, it's not what you know and it's not what you want to run. Well, he knew 6 bunt defenses inside and out. He knew every detail. He knew what every player should do, that being the head coach. The problem was it didn't jive with the last part of this quote, which says it's what your players know and what they can run. Not all of our players knew all of the bunt defenses, or at least they didn't know what their role was. They might have known 1 through 5, but they didn't know bunt defense number 6. Not only that, you forget the nuances of that move, because each move, there's some nuances within that step for each player, at least if you want to do it really well. And so the physical execution of all 6 bunt defenses, most of the time it was mediocre. And from time to time, it was ugly and ended up giving away crucial runs to the other team. It's not what coaches know. It's not what we want to do or run or plays we want to have. It's what our players know and what they can run. And this is why the 80-20 principle is so important. And this is why less is more, quality over quantity is more important. Post number 6. This is by Deemer Class at 22 Classy at 22 Classy. Leave it better than you found it. Locker rooms, restrooms, fields, dugouts. What you do when nobody is watching as a team, your players, is indicative of their character, and it's all within our control. A great lesson that team sports teaches you over time. Win or lose, we should leave the dugout after practice and after every game better than we found it. And the good news is, when you have 12 players, even if you just have 9 or 10 players at practice, many hands make light work. Another thing that works is set a timer. All right, guys, we got 2 minutes to get every piece of trash thrown away, everything picked up. We need the L screen put over there. We need that screen put over in that bullpen. All right, 2 minutes, go. And if they don't get it done in that time, that's a good use of bear crawls. Now, make sure you set the time so they can get it done, but you'd be surprised when you have 10, 11, 12 kids, and even a few coaches helping out, it can go really fast because each person has one role, boom, 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 and they're all working hand in hand. Leave the field, the dugout, everything better than you found it. All right, I saved the best, in my opinion, for last year. Post number 7 in our top 7 coaching posts of the month, as seen on X by me. Coach the Coaches at Winning Coaches posted this quote from the late, great Pat Summitt, who used to coach at the University of Tennessee basketball. Quote, most people get excited about games. Now I'm going to jump in here. This quote, when Coach Summitt says people, he's talking about players, but mostly coaches. So most people get excited about games, but I've got to be excited about practice because that's my classroom. End quote. The late, great Pat Summitt. Great coaches are excited for practice. Great coaches get at least a little bit excited for every practice because that's their classroom. I know this may sound kind of out there, or this may be a different message, but you know you're on the right path as a coach when you get at least a little bit, if not pretty excited about practice. And the more excited you get about practice, you're going to be more prepared. You're going to be a better coach out there at practice. You're utilizing practice for the right things. Most likely your team's going to improve faster. Your practices are going to continue to get better and better. Your team will get better and better. And when the games come around, you can sit back and relax a little more, knowing that you put your work in during practice, because that is the coach's classroom, not the game. The game is the kids' platform. That's their time to shine. It's their time to be on stage. Practice is the coach's classroom. So those 7 quotes really help shape our operating system as coaches. Those will really help our paradigm, our mindset as coaches. So that will trickle, at least it should trickle into all areas of our coaching. So we become better coaches. So we're great coaches and our players benefit because of that. All right. Speaking of making practices better, right there on the homepage at 8020baseball.com is the coaching plan. It's got all the stuff ready for you to become a great coach much faster, and more specifically, run great practices. That classroom of yours, the practice field, the training environment shows you exactly how to do all that. You can see all the stuff that's in there. And when I built it, my goal was that even if you only use half of it, you're still going to get twice your money's worth. That was my goal from the start. And the feedback that I'm getting about it from all the coaches that are using it sounds like that indeed is the case. Head over to 8020baseball.com. You got that and a lot more over there. Next week, I'm going to share out a hitting tip, a specific hitting tip that we want our hitters to avoid. This will help their swing and their timing, both, which are massive deals when it comes to being a good hitter, as we all know. So a specific tip to look for or to look at and analyze and assess with all your hitters so they can be better. All right, everyone, until next week, let's take care of our health, our own foundation, so we can be great for our family, our close friends, our team, our players. Let's take the wisdom from these 7 coaching posts. Let's embed it into our coaching paradigm, our coaching mindset. Let's take it out there to the field. All right. Y'all take care. And until next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Podcast, the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. We got this. Now, let's take the field.